Hello everyone, it's me, Games99, aka No Brainer, and welcome to another Star Wars Destiny video. This one is going to talk about the actual tournament itself. Last time I did talk about it, and this was supposed to go up I don't know, the day afterwards, but then I fell ill. I apologize heavily for that. It was not. My boss was not pleased when I come back to work on Thursday and then on Friday I call off sick. I'm still pretty ill at the moment, but it's not in my voice anymore. It's mostly a balance thing now. So we should be good. So I can't quite remember everything I talked about last time, so if I end up repeating myself, I apologize. But we are first going to talk about pods. So pods were quite simple. You had a three-round structure, best of ones each round. The person at the top wins the most prize points, right? Sounds simple enough. I played 16 pods, um, which is a truly massive amount. 16 pods is almost 6 pods every day. It's 655, and I did play pretty much as much as I possibly could. I don't think the only way someone managed to beat me in pods is in terms of number of played is if they went 666 because 6 is the absolute maximum you can play in pods. Um, so I played a lot because I really wanted to practice and get to grips with the deck, especially in real life play, because real life play is actually quite different to playing on TTS. On TTS, I felt I cared a lot more about myself, my own position, how I was doing. I liked collecting resources a lot, but then when I was playing as my opponents, I could just see and feel how much damage disrupting them was causing, how much discard hurt their hand and all that sort of stuff. And it just felt a lot better to use, which definitely uh, helped me make some good choices. I feel at times. Um, at the end of the pods, at the end of 3 days of playing pretty much straight, I had 10 of them. I was in 2-1. 3 of them I was 1-2, and 3 of them I was 3-0. So average record of 2-1 each pod, which I believed very strongly was not going to be good enough. Three 2-1, double that, that's 4-2. 4-2, that's enough to get onto day 2, but then 6-3, that's not enough to get into the top 16. So I was not having the deck was quite interesting. It was showing that overall I had a good matchup against a lot of things, but not a great matchup against some. I expected my Boba 7th matchup before I went into pods to be pretty solidly in my favor, like a 60, 65, 70% sort of that sort of range. But it ended up being more like a 55 to 60% in my favor. So that wasn't really high, especially with the sheer amount of Boba 7ths that were going to be at the tournament and not having a ton, not having a huge win rate against them was a bit of a problem. Um, I even, I the, I also was used pods to sort of scout around. If people are going to be playing their mill decks, they are going to be playing them in the pods, because that's just people like to play mill decks, and it's a very niche build, so not a lot of people are going to be playing them anyway, so it's not exactly unsafe to play them in pods. Um, there was no one playing Mill in pods. I saw maybe one the entire time, which I absolutely dominated. And of course, every time I'm playing in a pod, I'm also giving my opponents knowledge of my deck. There was a lot of people who knew about my deck going into things. But finishing the Wednesday, which is the day before the tournaments actually started, um, I was feeling pretty confident in how the deck went. I was winning 2-1 basically every single pod, and it wasn't as good as I was expecting. I didn't see any Raylas the first day. It was a lot of Sabine Ezra's, which I was just dominating. There was a lot of Qui-Gon Yodas, which I was dominating. Then Boba 7's, which I wasn't. Um, and that tended to be the whole trend throughout all of the pods. I tended to have good matchups, but not fantastic matchups against a lot of the field. I would say I've got maybe a 70% against Sabine Ezra, which is pretty high, but then going down to the Boba 7th, I'm at 55 to 60. Going to Ray Ayla's, I'm about 65 maybe, which is still good, don't get me wrong. And then Yoda Hondos were interesting because I actually thought I was going to do very well against them because, in theory, oops, I pressed the spacebar. In theory, Ezra has the ability to take a resource from your opponent with his special, and Yoda is well, they both play Yodas. So in theory, between Ezra and Yoda, I should be doing the equivalent to their Yoda Hondo, right? I'm stealing their resources. They use their Hondo special on me to take my resource, and I use Ezra to take them back, right? But that wasn't what was happening. Specifically, if a Yoda Hondo started with cunning in their opening hand, and if they got out of 4 speed, they could prove quite powerful against me. Actually, being able to do um, a triple Hondo, or by resolving cunning on Ezra's special to take a resource from me. Straight up. Like it wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I was still winning. But it was more like a 55-60% victory when I was expecting to be like 75-80%, which is, I know that's a very, very high percentage. Generally speaking, when you're playing card games, you're looking for a deck that tends to have about 65% win rate against most things. If you have a 50, if you have a deck that's got 51% success against pretty much everything, it's a pretty good deck. But it's all about how much. It's all about what you think is going to come to the field and the absolute best counters, right? If the entire field is nothing but Sabine Ezra's, and your deck 100% beats Sabine Ezra every time, your deck might technically be the best deck in the meta, you know. Um, and that's what I was worried about. It wasn't quite a coin flip, but there was definitely odds I wasn't wanting to take. 4-2, 2-1 was the normal for me, which is 66%, which is a pretty good win rate. But it really depended on what they were going to be playing on the day, whether it was going to be more of a coin flip or whether it was going to be more what I wanted. So, at the end of Tuesday, feeling confident. Then at the end of Wednesday, um, I start having doubts with Hidden Motive specifically. Against a Hondo Yodas, it wasn't performing effectively at all. It wasn't being able to stop Force Waves, which are what would completely shatter my deck. If they go Cunning turn 1 and then Force Wave turn 2, I've lost. There's no way I'm winning against a Yoda Hondo with that. So I swapped it out for Pin Down for the guaranteed spot removal. I was also having trouble against the Boba 7s a little bit with the Hidden Motive. Even though you've got 50% chance to hit a melee on the Ancient, if you don't hit a melee, they have plenty of focus or rerolls to get back into damage with the Ancient. So I felt swapping out for Pin Down was more effective than the Hidden Motive. So I took Hidden Motive out, replaced it with Pinned Down. But then Thursday came along, and I think it was Bobby Sapphire from the Hyperloops was playing Sabine Ezra, like crazy, which was causing a lot of people to talk about moving on to the Sabine Ezra train. I saw a lot of people in the pods trying out Sabine Ezra that they weren't before, and I was happy about that. You know, from my perspective, I've got a really good matchup against Sabine Ezra because I tend to kill them around. I tend to kill off the Ezra around turn 2, and they don't have the damage output to stop me from rolling in and killing them eventually, right? They can hyperspace jump a bunch, but if they never tell me the odds, they're probably not winning. They're probably not killing me, and then I can probably kill them that round. Is generally how that played because my deck can definitely punch through a full health Sabine with a second chance just fine. The deck is, of course, all about getting out a ton of vehicles, ramping incredibly hard, and that wasn't proving to be a problem. But at the end of Thursday, sorry, there was a bit of a spanner in the works, as it were. Honestly, Sarcastic from the Hyperloops was running a very similar list to me. He was running this character combination. He was running a lot of the same vehicles, but he was running DH-17s and Holdout Blasters instead of the Z-95 Headhunters and the Runaway Boomers, which is interesting. I mean, the Holdout Blaster instead of, say, the Z6 Z95 makes sense. You've got that +2 side, so you've only got the 2-for-1 that you have to pay for, and it does redeploy, so you've got a bit of speed there, along with the ambush weapon, of course. So that makes sense, but being able to use like Yoda's focus to turn this to the 3-for-1, I felt maybe just cinch the damage a little bit better. Maybe the Hold Up Blaster was a better choice. The Hold Up Blaster is really nice with someone like Ezra to actually give you black sides to resolve the +2s quite early on. The Z95, oftentimes I would roll it out first turn and be very happy when I get the resource, so I could just keep my ramping going. Which doesn't feel great to roll it in and get a resource and resolve the resource when you're trying to rush your opponent down. Um, but at the same time, it helped build up my flanking maneuver plays, which I definitely got to use a fair amount of throughout the whole event. Flanking maneuver, definitely not upset about bringing that card. Um, he was also running DH17s, though DH17s are incredibly powerful weapons at one cost. I mean, they've got a 2-for-1 and a +2, which is just, and a 1 base, which is just way better than, say, the Runaway Boomer die individually. But you can lose a character, but you're going to lose the character you put it on unless it's the Rebel pilot, the rookie pilot. And people seem to like to focus the rookie pilot as well. Like, it has its advantages. But I still preferred my version. He was saying how in his version he had a really hard time beating Rayala. And Rayala is not that much of a problem with this deck because they have a really hard time dealing with the sheer amount of damage I can just keep throwing out with runaway boomers and flanking maneuvers and stuff like that. In the late game, around turn 4 or so, I can usually win. Against Rayala, it's all about trying to survive, which is not so with most of the matchups, actually. Most matchups in this, most matchups were actually really heavy aggro oriented. There were a lot of Boba 7s, you know, there were a lot of Kylo 2s, which, you know, are easy to destroy. Rayalas, there were Rayalas, but generally speaking, against Sabine Ezra's and Boba 7s, you want to be killing them by the end of turn 3. You can absolutely do that. Turn 3, round 3, one of the two. You can absolutely kill someone by the end of round 3 with the vehicle setup. But the reason why you need to do that is because round 4 is usually the time those decks kill. It's a very standard timing for aggro decks to kill at the start of round 4. And my stuff gets rolled out at the end of round 4 because I'm just slower. So they effectively have an entire turn's worth of kill speed ahead of me. So I need to be able to kill off their Boba, their 7th, their Ezra, basically at the end of round 2, and then going for a round 3 kill. Generally, same thing with Yoda Hondo. Yoda Hondo is one of those decks that, because of Lightbow and Force Waves, they can output a lot more damage than you can, even though you're ramping way harder. They will just kill you because of time, because of speed. And there's not much you can do about that. Generally speaking, Yoda, a lot of decks would attack Yoda first, and they would kill him at the end of round 2, and I would be okay with that because I'm looking to roll out Ezra, roll out the rookie pilot. Hopefully, neither of these die round 3, and then I can just absolutely dominate them. Round 3, because round 3 I'll usually have like a Y-wing, 2 Fang fighters, and 2 airspeeders out or something, and that's, you know, that's 11 damage just right there. You know, that's pretty significant. And, well, that's assuming I don't get a great hand. I could definitely ramp even more. Boomers specifically. Honestly, Sarcastic also talked about how he didn't have a great matchup against Mill. And Runaway Boomers are the cards, is the deck, the support that wins you the matchup against Mill. Because they just can't deal with the sheer amount of damage you're throwing out with it. It's 4 resources for most likely 4 indirect damage every turn, and that's not something they can deal with when it only costs a single card from your hand to use. Right, you can keep a lot of cards back in your hand so that they can't mill it or whatever, because it's very, very cost effective in terms of amount of cards. And I found it very, very, very effective. But yeah, so Friday comes along, and Honestly Sarcastic is absolutely dominating everything with his deck. He ends up going 5-1 in the tournament. And a lot of people start thinking, hang on, we need to deal with this. And so I kind of get caught in the crossfire there. A lot of people start teching some very specific cards against 3-character decks when the meta so far seems to have been mostly Sabine Ezra's and Yoda Hondos. Ira Bell actually has released the statistics of the win ratios on all of the decks and all of the days, and this matchup, the Ezra Yoda rookie pilot, was consistently well, not consistently, but it was the highest win rate matchup on day 1C, and I believe it was pretty high up on day 1B as well. Yeah, because Saturday comes around and a lot of people are copying his deck. By a lot of people, I mean like 4 people, I think, maybe have been copying his deck, along with me just having my version of this deck as well. And it's not an easy deck to play by any stretch of the imagination. I'm surprised, honestly, at the amount of bandwagoning that was going on overall. People were like, the day 1A did not see a lot of Sabine Ezra's. Day 1B, because of Bobby Sapphire, saw a ton of Sabine Ezra's. And that was very surprising. But Sabine Ezra has a really good matchup against Yoda Hondo. Yoda Hondo was the most played deck in the tournament, I believe. And it's also not a very good deck. Like, there was a ton of predators for it. Savine Ezra alone is absolutely dominant against Yoda Hondo. I don't really understand why people were playing so much Yoda Hondo, and I wish they weren't, because it would have made it a lot easier for me. I had a good matchup against them, but if you flip a coin 6 times, you're going to probably lose like 2 or 3 of those times, and losing 2 or 3 times is not good enough to get you into the top 16 later on. So, last day comes around, and I'm still seeing no Raelas whatsoever. And my Qui-Gon Yoda matchup is just Qui-Gon Yoda is laughably terrible. Like, yeah, I talked about how Yoda Hondo was like one of the worst decks. Qui-Gon Yoda is actually the worst deck. I don't know why people were bringing it. It's not a good deck. I don't understand why people were bringing it. It consistently has like a 33% win rate against the field from Irabel's stats. It's this is just a better. This is just better, and like Rael is just better. Don't know why people are bringing it up. So anyway, Overconfidence is specifically good against the Boba 7th matchup, and specifically good against the Raela matchup, but it's not particularly effective against the Yoda Hondo matchups or the Sabine Ezra matchups. So I decided to cut the Overconfidences. And in its place, I put a Force Illusion, only the one Force Illusion, because if I run 2 and I can't really use the second one, it's a very dead card, and I don't like having dead cards in my deck. Because I don't have, I need my cards, right? I'm going to be playing all 5 cards from my hand every turn, most probably, and if not, I'm discarding them all to draw into more vehicles or removal pieces. So it's very difficult for me to suggest running Force Illusion, especially because of the vehicle matchup. You see, once you lock in your deck, you lock in your deck at the start of the day that you play. So I was very worried that in the top 16 there was going to be a lot of people who were playing Sabine Ezra's and a lot of people who were going to be playing vehicles, because I still consider vehicles, especially this version of vehicles, to be the best deck in the format overall. And Force Illusion is very effective against the Sabine Ezra's. It's not so effective against the Yoda Hondos, but can still be effective. And can also be very helpful against BroTK. And then I also put in a Black One. Now, Black One, remember, I don't own cards, okay? But Black One is the only legendary I've ever pulled from opening packs. When I went to the Awakenings event, the Awakenings pre-release, I opened as many packs as I was allowed, which I think was 3, and I pulled a Black One, and I was like, oh god, I got the worst legendary. But then, I'm trying to decide if I want to keep one of my overconfidences or keep a hidden motive, and I'm like, no, I don't really want to, and I might have a problem with vehicles. Sometimes I'm opening up and I don't have any vehicles in my opening hand, and that is just an insta-lose for me if I have 0 vehicles in my opening hand. So I figured I might need the 13th vehicle. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11th vehicle, sorry. 13th support. I might need the 11th vehicle here. It hits with Rally Aid as well, and Black One is actually not too terrible. The ETA 2, whatever it's called, is a pretty good vehicle as well. It has a 1 range to 2 range and a 3 indirect for 3, which is alright. But the Black One is good for me to just roll it out because it has 3 base range. It has 3 base damage sides, and that special is worth at least 2, right? Because I think that special is worth 3, personally. I value that special at 3, maybe even 4. So playing a vehicle that has a 2, a 3, and a 3 side. That's all direct damage, so I can kill off the Ezra or kill off the Boba or 7th, whichever one I'm going for. Is very helpful because the runaway boomers have a big problem where they do a lot of damage, but it's all indirect, right? So you want to be doing that. You want to be doing that focused direct damage with Ezra's and rookie pilots and the vehicles to kill off one character, and then you boomers against the other one very effectively, right? So I put Black One in there for the final day of pods just to see how it worked out. Um, and I played it, and I never drew it, so I didn't get any testing done with it at all. So that was helpful. Um, so I just kept it in there for the day. All right. Um, and so that's where I am with pods. You've got a lot of people trying to tech against Honestly Sarcastic. You've got a lot of people trying to build Honestly Sarcastics, and by a lot of people I mean a few. Um, Yoda Hondos have been rife throughout the whole thing, and I'm a little worried at that point because it's a bit better than a coin toss for me. Sabine Ezra's are a nice, easy win for me, but I'm not looking too confident. Being 2-1 in pretty much every single pod puts me at 4-2. So let's move on to the first round. I have some semi-detailed notes, and I'm going to start talking through all of the rounds here. Okay, so first of all, the dice spawn and ruin the entire play area for me. That's just great. Ezra's an invisible card. There we go. There he is. All right, so I'm playing in the very first round, and actually, be right back 1 second whilst I try and find it. Alright, so I am in the very first round. I sit down, I get out my deck, I start doing all my stuff, and I go up against a Sabine Ezra, and I'm like, okay. Well, I was hoping for the first round I would go up against, say, a Mill deck, or a Qui-Gon Yoda, or something easy, but Sabine Ezras are in my favor. And I sit down, and the person next to me is a woman, from I believe Twin Sons, I believe is what they're called. A fairly local place from Minnesota, and they were giving out alt arts, free alt arts. She was like, hey, before we begin, do you want one of these alt arts? And I was like, sure, and I took the rookie pilot alt art, and it's not a good alt art, but it's an alt art, I guess. As a description, imagine you know how the rookie pilot's art is laughable at times, all right? That expression. Well, imagine that expression, but on a female jumpsuit instead, and she's got, instead of the helmet, she's got a corgi or some other form of dog. That's basically what this alt art is. And I was like, it's an alt art. It's no Yoda spot gloss, but I'll take it, So turn 1 comes around, and I take my battlefield. I start setting up, and she rolls out Ezra, whatever, sure. I roll out things. Things are going fine. It's my battlefield. Then she puts down Holdout Blaster and rolls out Sabine. And she rolls out Sabine. That's pretty much what she actually rolled. Now, some people might notice a problem here. She didn't roll out the Holdout Blaster die. We did the whole thing where I stare at her for like 10 seconds, and then she stares back at me, and then we get into a staring contest, which lasts for quite some time, and then I eventually lose. And I look to her and I say, you haven't rolled out the Holdout Blaster die. I'm willing, of course, to let you roll it out, but for curiosity's sake, let's call a judge. What happens if you forget to roll out the die? And she immediately is like, she's got her head on her hands, she's face palming, she's like, oh no, oh, straight away I made a mistake. And the judge comes over and he's like, just roll it in. The game hasn't been going for any longer, right? We haven't taken several turns in between, so she can just roll it in. That's fine. So it's like, all right. But because I got her to do a judge, I extended the length of how long she felt terrible for, so I'm in her head at this point, right? And I'm pretty certain I'm going to win this if someone's forgetting to roll out their upgrade dice. So she rolls out. She does not get a good first roll. And She leaves the 2 ranged out because she can't resolve it. Because she didn't do the discard beforehand. She didn't do the discard into activate Sabine, play the holdout blaster. Which then gives her the ambush action to resolve her damage. That's a trend. I didn't do anything about it because I had no removal in my opening hand. I don't like to keep opening removal in my hand. I like to have pure economy. But whatever. Alright, so round 1. This is what happened. I ended up with a bit of damage on me. Whatever, who cares? I was like, I think it was something like this. You know? Something like this, whatever. Round 2 comes along, and this is now the board state for round 2. In my hand, I have Into the Garbage Chute and Easy Pickings. I have my Z95 and my Fang Fighters out. She's got her Holdout Blaster. She's got a Hidden Blaster in her hand. Okay? So, she goes, and she overwrites the Holdout. No, wait, she doesn't. She doesn't overwrite. What am I talking about? She plays the Hidden Blaster, just directly, and then rolls out Sabine. And she goes 3, 3, +2, +2. She god rolls me, and it's like, well, that's a dead Yoda. Except, once again, she didn't do the discard beforehand and place it on Sabine. What she should have done is overwrote the Holdout Blaster with the Hidden Blaster, unless of course she had a second chance in her hand, so that in case she wanted to keep the discard up. And then she could activate the Holdout Blaster. And then she could activate and use that to play the Holdout Blaster and have her additional action to resolve this. As it stands, I easy pickings her dice away for round 2. And then after she rolls out Ezra, she gets a blank and a 1, and then I Into the Garbage Chute the Ezra die and the Holdout Blaster die. And then she's basically dead in the water for round 2. Round 2 I kill off Ezra, and I set up some more. And then round 3 comes along, and she does not have the second chance, and I kill her. I think at the end of round 3 she manages to kill off the Yoda. But that play there, I blocked 9 damage. Purely because she didn't know how the deck worked properly. She didn't know about the Sabine play. After the game, I tell her about the play. I tell her, hey, you could have done this. And she's like, oh, yeah, of course I could have. She explains to me that she did not intend to bring Sabine Ezra. She intended to play Mill. But because of how well Sabine Ezra was doing in the first 2 days, she decided to swap at the last minute and didn't have any experience playing Sabine Ezra. You can't just change your deck on a whim like that. You can't do that. You've got to have been repping for several days at least, like I did. I had 16 times 3, 48 games in real life with my deck. Here, I did not swap out for my for my Akbar Ayla Padawan deck at all, even though I had it. I never played it once. She loses round 1. Very nice, very easy round 1. Okay. So, going into round 2, I haven't completely scrubbed out yet. If I went 0-1 immediately, I'd have problems because I am a certain person who plays on tilt. So, round 2 comes along, and again, all of the dice problems are here. I actually noticed this and fixed this in the future, guys. Don't worry about it. But right now, yep. Just delete these dice. Alright, so round 2, let me get on the right side. I am up against a Hondo Yoda. When the Hondo Yoda opens up turn 1 with a Cunning, and then turn 2, a Handcrafted Lightbow. And this is the end of the board state round 2. He has no resources left. I have no resources left. I only managed to get out a Fang Fighter and an Airspeeder. But I'm not looking too terrible because his Yoda's has taken 7 damage, I've taken 8 damage. Alright. He has the battlefield, it's my battlefield, but he has it so he doesn't get anything out of claiming. He starts, he gets his resources, and he's got the second chance, he's got the hyperspace jump. And he starts out by rolling out Yoda. Hits the double focus, and yeah, I think it was the disrupt. Alright, so I played my Airspeeder. There goes my resources. And he plays Cunning. He goes all in on the Hondo. Now, this Hondo is absolutely terrifying at this point. Cuttings and handcrafted light bows. That double focus side is out there. I haven't got removal. I'm rolling in Yoda myself. And fun fact, throughout this day, my Yoda dice were weighted against me. Rolling specials is not something those dice ever seem to do. That's just my biases playing against me, I'm sure, but it felt really, really annoying to not get my specials. So my Yoda's sitting there almost dead, but I did get basically nothing. And he rolls in his Hondo, and I kid you not, he gets something that looks similar to that. I believe it was this, specifically. That's pretty terrifying, because that represents 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 total damage. Yeah, 15 total damage. And that's terrifying. Let me hang on. 15, yeah, no, that works. Maths checks out. Yeah. So I have this Ezra and this rookie pilot. He's got tons of handcrafted lightbow power available. I decide to caution. And I caution the rookie pilot. Because I want him to kill the rookie pilot instead of Ezra. Ezra has more damage overall because of his two sides. And this rookie pilot is like, oh, 10. Oh, this handcrafted light bow can do 5 to me, right? So he starts resolving his dice, blah-de-blah. He ends up with the resource for the hyperspace jump on the next round. No other cards in hand to stop me, unfortunately. Yoda's dead, Rookie Pilot's dead, and Ezra's taken like 3 damage. It might be like 5. One of the two. In fact, I think it was like 5 damage. Wait, let me... So 3, he got everything off. So 3, 6, 9, 12, so boom. And then it takes 3 specials to kill him. Which leaves us 1 special left. Okay, so Ezra's only taken 3. Okay. But I have 3 cards in hand here. So this is a long shot. But my T-47s, they do 2 damage. My Ezra's can do up to 2 damage. My Fangfire can do up to 3. Right, so if we assume we have max damage here, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 11. Okay? 11. And this Hondo has been geared to all hell and has 10 health. And at this point, he claims. So he's not going to be playing this second chance that's in his hand. He is not being patient. So I roll. I also have the C-3PO with its focus. I roll. I have 3 removals. 3 re-rolls, should I say. But I end up rolling this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I use C-3PO to go to the 11. I had 3 rerolls for it. I feel like overall it was in my favor to hit all of this damage. But the C-3PO can't use its action to turn anything. But it has a single focus side. Maybe it wasn't in my favor, but I had fairly decent odds. I think I was at like 40%. After these 3 rerolls, always to hit the maximum damages. Because I'm looking for 5 1-in-6s. Well, I'm not, because the Fangfire can be 2s, the Airspeeder has 2 sides each. But I've got a fairly decent chance for it. But they all just rolled it immediately and I didn't even have to reroll, and that felt really bad for me. My opponent was like, what the hell? And I resolve and kill the Hondo. And then he turns and he looks to me. And he's like, my other handcrafted light bow is in my discard, and I only run 1 force wave. My Yoda literally has no weapons for me to kill you. This is game over. So even though all I have left is an Ezra with 4 health left, he can't kill me. He has all of the removal in the world. He has the hyperspace jump available, but there's nothing he can do about it, and he loses round 2. So I'll admit, I got a bit lucky there. I got pretty lucky there, honestly. But those are the coins you flip. I think I'd say I had like a 40% and I hit it. I don't know what the actual mathematics is like, but I felt like there was a decent chance for me to get it, and I get it. I played around it. Without this extra Ezra dice, my chance was 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, literally impossible. If he had just killed Ezra instead of the rookie pilot, he would have won the game, most probably. Because I couldn't kill the Hondo. I could kill the Yoda, the Hondo would be alive, and then it would have been a race to see who can output the most damage first. And let's be honest, he has the Cunnings don't do a ton, aren't likely to reroll into things, but with hyperspace jump, he had a pretty good chance of avoiding me, overriding with something with a second chance at some point, and then just being able to survive. So, kill the Ezras before the rookie pilots. That is the lesson to be learned here. All right, so 2-0. I'm feeling pretty good about myself here. And then I learned that I'm going on the top table. I'm going to be playing on the Chance Cube stream, which flusters me like crazy. For those of you who have seen, I made sure, especially sure, to tidy up my battlefield, my playfield a lot. I made sure that all of my vehicles were like in one place instead of all over the place and stuff. And everyone on Twitch chat still complained that my that I was incredibly messy. But I was trying my hardest to be not messy. God damn it! It's just really hard when you've got a million things. And honestly, this game is not too difficult to. This game was not too difficult to win. I have a decent odds against the Sabine Ezra matchup, and this is a Sabine Yoda. Now, what Sabine Yoda is all about is, especially with this battlefield and with Mars's Vault, is having 3 resources at the start of every round so that you can go into your second chances, so that you can go into your DL44s, and that you can go into your hyperspace jumps if you need to. And of course, they never tell me the odds, right? However, I'm playing Yoda Ezra. And I just constantly disrupted him and prevented him from having that final resource. Even after he claims, and I'm like, okay, well, Ezra still has another disrupt side, or Yoda has a disrupt side. I was resolving disrupt sides on Yoda to just make sure he never had that third resource to be able to do anything. My opponent was playing very weirdly as well. So first he wasn't rolling any damage, which, you know, that's a really bad strategy to never roll damage on your Sabine. Like, it was depressing. He kept doing the trick correctly, where he would roll in Sabine with the weapons and actually have the action, but he would never roll damage, and it was just depressing, because then he would re-roll into damage and I would have removal. So he just couldn't get anything with that. He was also playing a little odd. He was keeping the 2 resources from the start of the round and overriding the X8 and the holdouts and stuff. Rather than playing a second weapon on Sabine, that 4th dice might have made quite a big difference, because I generally can only remove like 1 or 2 dice per round. That might have made the difference. But he wasn't. He was just overriding once. It's like, I don't understand that decision. It keeps 2 resources in the pool, I guess, for like if he wants to easy pickings or mind trick or something like that. But using up your overwrite, so you can't then overwrite the weapon into a second chance later on. So you might as well spend the resources now to get that other weapon out, so that you're immune to my Ezra disrupts, right? But round 3, so start of round 3 comes along. I believe it was the start of round 3. And this is literally the board state. I've only taken 3 damage this whole time. I've been a bit disrupt heavy, so my vehicles aren't as good as they normally would be. I usually would have 1 more like airspeeder or fangfighter or something here. But he's literally not been rolling damage, so I'm fine. So again, once again, he overwrites the X8 with the holdout blaster. He rolls in, and he doesn't get shit. That's fair enough. That's accurate. And I've got a flanking maneuver in hand. I'm pretty sure he has a second chance. And I want to just like blindside him before he gets the chance to second chance, I guess you could say. In case he has like he could go like true second chance or something like that. I want to completely blindside him with damage. So I start out, I roll in the airspeeder. And it rolls onto not the damage, which I am super pumped about, because I need to get 2 support dice in my pool to be able to play flanking maneuver. A flanking maneuver for 2 kills him. So he just doesn't understand the predicament he's in. He rolls into something. I roll into C3PO. He does something like, I think, re-rolls or whatever, and then I flanking for 2 and kill his Sabine. And that's the point where he's like, could I see that card? And he reads it on stream. It feels good to force your opponent to read the card because they don't know what it does. It is such a warning sign when your when your Sabine's sitting on 2 health, when someone rolls in the card that isn't going to kill her. Okay, C-3PO had no chance of killing her. Alright, I wasn't rolling in my characters because I needed the support dice, and characters have damage size to kill her with. I could have rolled in Fangfighter to kill. If I was wanting to kill her, I would have rolled in the Fangfighter, and I would have then rolled in the Rookie Pilot, potentially, or the Z95, one of the 2, right? And he did not pick up on what I was doing, and I was able to just sneakily kill him with a flanking maneuver. A very cheap, easy tactic to win the game. The next turn I've run into like loads of upgrades or whatever. I run into loads of supports or whatever, and I overkill Yoda by like 18. It's pretty funny. For those of you who were there on stream and was like, wow, this guy's BMing, my opponent specifically told me to overkill Yoda as much as I possibly could. So that's what I did. Alright, and one last thing about this matchup as well. Sabine Ezra is quite aggro. They can kill at the start of round 4. But the Yoda decks don't seem to do that because they use cards like Force Illusion to keep Sabine alive rather than focus on damage. So that usually gives me quite an advantage against that deck because I can just ramp up and just be safe. A lot more safe than normal. So I had a really good matchup there. And again, he was incredibly unlucky. He never rolled into damage. It was depressing. Alright. So we move on now to game number 4. I'm 3-0 at this point, and I'm still at the top table, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going great. And I go up against a Yoda Hondo again. Dear. Alright, so, end of first round, this is the situation. Okay. Start of the second round, he goes, alright, Force Wave. His Yoda was more like this. Second round, he goes Force Wave on Yoda, and I'm like, shit. And he proceeds to just completely demolish me. He has a Force Speed as well, which I didn't put on the board for some weird reason. But he proceeds to just kill me outright with Cunning Force Wave combos. The deck can't win if your opponent goes Cunning round 1 into Force Wave round 2. It just can't happen. I could potentially have won this second round with the Black 1 here. I did at least have, between the Ezras and the Airspeeder and stuff, I did manage to actually put Yoda to that 7 health. That's probably why I put 7 health on him. All of my dice are spent apart from the Black 1 at that point. So everything's done, and I managed to do that much damage. Which isn't lucky for me by any stretch of the imagination. Only managed to do 4 damage. He had some removal, I believe. He had some cards. And then I roll in the Black 1, and it rolls in some damage. I need 3 to kill the Yoda. I've got 3 rerolls in hand, and I've got a C-3PO for the black, so I can Black 1 special. So this gives me at least some leeway. If by the end of this round, I did lose the Ezra, and I did. Yoda was on like. It was something like this. Alright, it was something like this. I have the Black 1 potential to kill him if I'm lucky. And he plays Hidden Motive on my ranged die. I really should have watched the stream so that I could remember exactly what it was like, but I think it was like this. Yoda might have been on 6 health rather than 7, but I still have the chance to start doing some Black 1 chaining. I have 3 rerolls. There is the possibility to go to get the special on Black 1 into the 3 range to kill. But he goes Hidden Motive, he calls ranged, and he hits it. And I lose the Black 1 die. 33% chance to hit range there, and he hits it. And that was my only chance to kill the Yoda round 2, which the Black 1 might have been able to do. And then I could have potentially still won the game. And that didn't happen. So I lost round 4. 3-1, going into lunch now. I'm tilting at this point. I was at the top table, and I'm like, oh god, I do not want to end up going 3-3. I do not want to go 3-0 into I don't want to go 3-0 on the top table into 3-3 and just scrub out. I don't want this to happen to me. This seems absolutely horrifying, right? So I don't want to do this. No, that's so terrifying. Um, so come back from lunch. My head's not in the game properly. I'm on tilt, and round 5, I'm up against Bro TK. Now, Bro TK can do some ridiculous stuff. And it did. So, I end round 1, and this is the situation when I claim. I'm playing a lot quicker than him. This is the situation when I've claimed. Alright. He has rolled out the Seventh Sister. He has rolled out the Sienna. And he has rolled out the Night Sister. And all he has in his hand on the field is this one Dark Council. Okay, he had respited before for this Night Sister, for the extra resource on Night Sister, and I had removed it with Ezra. Like, okay, so I should probably do that. So turn 1, he plays Respite for Night Sister. No, turn 1, I roll out Ezra, sorry, and I roll into a Disrupt side. And he plays Respite on Night Sister, and I disrupt it, so he's only down to 2 resources. So he plays the Dark Council for 1 resource, and I'm pretty sure he's got like a Maul Saber in his hand for that, and he absolutely did. And I end up doing all my things. I end up with this board. It's not the best board at all. I only had the 1 weapon, but I have 4 resources, and I look to be pretty good heading into the next round. And I've done like 2 damage to Seventh Sister. Okay, let me read. Yeah. He had rolled in 2 damage with the Seventh Sister, and I had mitigated with into the garbage chute. Right. So all he has out is this Dark Council die. Literally all he has. And 4 cards in hand. So, he starts pinging the Night Sister. And he starts rolling into Dark Council specials to draw cards. And each time he draws a card, he gets to re-roll. And sometimes they would chain back onto it. Well, look at that, a Respite. That's kind of worthless. Let's ping Night Sister one more time. Let's ping Night Sister one more time. Well, he actually got a special that time. Basically, he got between that and 3 discards from his hand. Okay. So 6 rerolls. He rerolled with Night Sister 6 times and discarded 3 cards from hand to get 3 of these Dark Councils. Sorry, 4, because the Worthless Respite. So he got 4 on this. And what's he get? He gets Enrage. He gets Price of Failure. He gets Aftermath. Okay. Wait. No, he got this one more. He got something else as well. He got it 1 more time as well. So this Worthless Respite shouldn't have been on top of the deck. That's what's going on here. He got it 4 times, and that Respite should not have been on top of the deck. So he gets Enrage, Price of Failure, Aftermath, and Boundless Ambition. I think you guys can see where this is going. So he plays Aftermath. He Price of Failures the Night Sister, and then to get a resource, and then he enrages on his Seventh Sister to get his 3rd resource, and uses it to play Maul's Lightsaber after Seventh Sister has stood up. Then, with 3 resources, he rolls his dice back in. And that's pretty much the result. He gets a resource here. Along with that's fine. And he uses this resource to Boundless Ambition to draw 5 more cards, and with those 5 cards, he re-rolls, and he ends up doing 7 damage to kill off the Ezra. And gets another resource from it because of Aftermath, which he then decides to roll in the Mauls, and he doesn't get anything of that reroll. Okay. So that's pretty terrifying. I go from all he has on the field is a Dark Council die to he is now set up. Because this deck is really good at denying your opponent resources. I denied the critical resource to prevent his I denied the critical resource to prevent the Mauls coming out that turn, but I did not prevent another resource, and so he was able to draw into an Enrage, draw into an Aftermath, and use both of those to play Maul's Lightsaber. Now that's really ridiculously unlucky. Four draws off of the Dark Council, which, because it rerolls itself whenever it does the special, it rolled itself 4 plus 4 plus 6 plus 3. So that's 17. So 17 times, and he hit the 1 in 6 4 of those times. Right? I think that's how the math works out. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I should be ignoring the 4 rerolls from the initial special or something. I don't know. So 13 to 17 rerolls, he gets it 4 times. So that's really good for him. Without the Boundless, by the way, he had nothing. And now would have been able to keep the Ezra alive until next turn. Because next turn I draw into like easy pickings and stuff, and the Ezra's already dead. Nothing I can do about that. So next turn rolls out, and he has the Ancient Lightsaber, and he has the Leadership. I don't know why the Leadership isn't here. I guess that's what that Respite was supposed to be. And he stands up Seventh Sister again, and he kills me. I draw into something that's not vehicles enough, and this Y-Wing is unable to kill him because it's doing specials. And he's getting resources from Aftermath. He's using up his Sienna with Leadership. His Sienna has stuff to damage, can put damage on herself, and he has a fully built Seventh Sister. Turn 2. It's not the damage I'm even that worried about. It's the fact that I'm a resource denial deck, and he still managed to end up with 6 resources worth of upgrades out at the start of round 2. Purely off of Aftermath, Price of Failure, and Enrage, I guess. Purely off of this Dark Council die. Like, that was so tilting, you have no idea. Like, he was so lucky as hell. In the end, I actually survive. I don't lose on round 2. I lose on round 3. I start doing some shield shenanigans. I managed to stop him rolling out the Maul's Lightsaber again. But round 3, I'm just dead. I can't pull out enough damage to kill him, and he's doing plenty of damage to me. My deck requires you to remove resources from him. I guess maybe I should have gone harder on the resource removal to remove that one last resource of him so he couldn't do that whole bullshit combo. But I did not think he was going to be able to draw so well off of Dark Council. I did not expect Dark Council to be this effective of a card. So I'm 3-2 at this point, and I am super, super terrified that I am going to scrub out and end up going 5-3. Going to end up going 3-3. So we load up the last one. And this is how it starts. Round 1. This is my hand. Fangfighter, Airspeeder, Fangfighter, Rally Headhunter. I'm like, okay. Up against a Boba 7th. It's going to be one of those games, isn't it? Yeah. It's going to be one of those games. So we just start throwing things at each other. Rounds 1 and 2, he near maxes his damage. I near max my damage. He gets to CQA me though early on in round 2, and I lose the hand immediately. So I only have these 4 vehicles to rely on. End of round 2, I've mitigated 6 damage, removed 4 of his shields, and have all 4 of my vehicles out. And they roll terribly. Boba lives at the end of round 2. They roll out, and they roll absolutely terribly. And Boba's got 1 hit point. By the end of it, Boba's got 1 hit point left even after some rerolls. Let me scroll over the notes. Yeah. And I have lost Yoda and the rookie pilot. For some reason, people like to go after the rookie pilot instead of the Ezra, which is fine by me. No, wait, no, sorry. I lose the Yoda. I still have the rookie, sorry. Yeah, no. He kills the 7. He kills the, he kills the, Ezra. He plays, at the start of round 3, sorry, he plays Force Illusion. He's got the Maul's Lightsaber on 7th Sister. He's got the Ancient Lightsaber on 7th Sister. He rolls in the, He's got Force Illusion up. This is the state of the game at the end of round 3. I have some rerolls available, and I managed with my rerolls to do the same thing I did in round 2, but this time with a rookie pilot instead. I roll out. I don't get max damage, but I get close to it. I have 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 11 there. I actually ended up with 12. This was after 3. Again, it was after like 3 rerolls, I want to say. He'd already played the Force Illusion on Boba Fett earlier in the turn because he was worried about Ezra stealing resources. He can't Ancient Lightsaber away to heal himself up because this is overkill damage like crazy. So I'm able to resolve the 10 into her, and then no, that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened at all. I ended up with like this 3, 5, 7, 9. No. I ended up with 10. Okay, at the end of the day, I ended up with 10, which was enough to kill the Seventh Sister immediately, and I one-shot her. All right, that's how it happened. You see, this is the problem when you have an extra week of waiting. You don't remember what happened exactly, even with these detailed notes. But I one-shot 7th, and then the start of the next round, he draws in, and he does not find a weapon for Boba. So his Boba can only do a maximum of 4 damage, 6 if he manages to get both specials on my Fang Fighters. I don't play anything else, I just roll in and I eventually do the 1 damage and kill him. So, at the end of the day, I'm 4-2. I was on heavy tilt the whole of that, but I managed to make it to Sunday. I managed to make it to day 2. And I've survived. So thank God for that. I went 3-0 to 3-1 to 3-2, looking to go 3-3, and then I managed to one-shot the Seventh Sister and survive on 14. Again, I'm not worried about this deck. This deck was playing fantastic throughout, for the most part. Yoda wasn't rolling specials, but the deck is probably the best deck in the format, and that was good. But let's just point out the decks that I have faced so far. All right. So people have been talking all about how this is like a super diverse meta with a lot of differences between the decks and a lot of people bringing in their spicy decks and stuff. And I didn't see that. I ran into 2 Yoda Hondos, 2 Sabine decks, a Bro TK, and the Seventh Sister Boba deck. That's super normal for me. That's super normal, super standard. None of these matchups are easy. Like, just throw me a Milk game. Just throw me a Qui-Gon Yoda game. You know, just throw me something that isn't difficult to play against. Like, pretty much everyone has that easy matchup, whereas my easy matchups were not as a result of the deck, specifically, but were as a result of my opponents not being able to play to their fullest, right? With the 7th to the Sabine Ezra at the start. But even then, if I didn't have that removal, she would still have wiped the floor with me. And I guess my easiest matchup was the Sabine Yoda, but it was just so unlucky on his part that I can't really call it as a result of the matchup. Like, he just never rolled damage. So anyway, I come out of that day, and I've got to play on the next day. So let's load up World 7. Now this is the real reason why I wanted to play in TTS. So let's not look at my opponent's hand here. So this is what I have in my opening hand. Alright. After a really long and hard decision, we go with my battlefield. I go with my battlefield. It was a really tough call for me to choose my battlefield because he gets the shield for Rey 2's ability. But I have 3 vehicles in hand and a chance cube, and I'm like, okay, I can make something work with this. So he has 3 resources, of course, and you kind of want to start early so that you can roll out that Ezra to force them to spend their resources early. So I roll in Ezra, okay? I roll in, and I get a blank and a +2. Alright. He then's like, okay, so I'm going to play Reaping the Crystal to reduce the cost of a Force Wave. It's like, what? Rey Aayla plays Force Wave? What? He's like, yeah, so I noticed that Joe from the Hyperloops was running vehicles decks, so I expected a lot of people to play vehicles. So I teched him Force Wave at the last minute for Day 1C. Oh, I played Day 1C as well. He's like, yeah, it was very useful for me to tech in this card. It won me quite a few of the matchups in my previous rounds. I'm like, God damn it. God damn it. Well, with Reaping the Crystal specifically, he has the resource to roll out and resolve Force Wave immediately. But I have Yoda. Yoda has disrupt sides, and Yoda has special sides. Each one of these special sides is effectively a disrupt because of Ezra, and the disrupt side is of course a disrupt side. So I should be able to stop him. If I roll out Yoda, I can stop him from resolving. I've got a 50% chance twice, 75% chance for me to hit a disrupt here. Completely ignoring, of course, the fact that Ezra had a 33% chance per die, 50% chance to roll into disrupt before. So I roll in my Yoda, and I wish I got that. I get a disrupt, and I get a shield. Alright, well, the thing is, of course, I haven't been able to play Chance Cube. I needed to play that Yoda to disrupt his resource immediately. But with Chance Cube, I can at least play it on the Rookie Pilot. But I'm looking to be discarding one of my vehicles right now, and I do have the Battlefield, and I don't want to be discarding my vehicles to re-roll here. I was really relying on this Yoda dice instead of discarding. But, you know, at the same time, he's been a bit stupid. He's played this Force Wave on Ayla after having, even though Rey has more health and has both shields on her. And the Ayla shares sides with the Force Wave. The two indirects and the specials are all shared with the Ayla. So, with easy pickings, I might still survive this. Okay, so he rolls in his Ayla. And he goes special, 2 melee, 1 melee. Nothing easy pickingsable. I'm going to be taking 9 damage just from this Ayla no matter what, and I cannot afford to be taking this damage. But if I can at least discard to reroll, I could potentially set myself up for a Chance Cube play. Potentially get out this Black One, get out this Fang Fighter, and maybe do something and go for this Ayla kill early turn 2. So I discard, I reroll. And maybe with this reroll, I can bait out the Rey. Maybe he's like, oh, I don't have any removal. He doesn't have any removal at all, because otherwise he would have clearly used that removal on Force Wave. So I can roll out the Rey, and maybe I can then easy pickings away this 2 melees. So I roll in, and I get blank, blank, shield, and a discard side. I have a really, really high chance of rolling into something that's useful here, and I just am not rolling that. The memories. He says, alright, I'm going to play Close Quarters Assault and discard 2 cards from your hand. And he hits the easy pickings, and he hits the Chance Cube. In theory, I should have played the Chance Cube on the Rookie part before I did other things, but I've lost the easy pickings now. And I've lost the Chance Cube, which will help me ramp into this Fang Fighter and Black One. And on top of that, I have nothing at all that I've rolled in, so I'm going to have to discard one of these 2 vehicles to get enough resources, because I only need 1 resource to play this Fang Fighter. God damn it, game. God damn it. So, I roll in the Rookie Pilot with the expectation that I'm going to have to reroll soon. And then he's like, I'm going to roll in Rey. I'm going to ping your Ezra for 1. I'm going to roll in Rey. What do I get? I get the 1 shield, and I get the 2 melee. 5 damage, shield, 3. So he's going to have the shields up for next turn for another ping. Okay, fine. The Rookie Pilot doesn't manage to roll resource, so I discard the Black One and I reroll, and it doesn't really matter at this point what I reroll into. But hey, I reroll into something, let's assume it's something decent rather than that. He goes, alright, I'm going to Force Wave now. Let's stick 3 onto the Ezra, 2 onto the Rookie Pilot, and 1 onto the Yoda. Alright. I start ramping up or whatever. I end up with the Fang Fighter. I end up with 2 resources in my hand. Two bonus resources. Sorry. So I'm looking at 4 resources at the start of next turn. And then he's like, alright, I'm going to play Synchronicity with this shield side. And I'm going to hit the Rookie Pilot. Oh, wait. It makes no sense for him to hit the Ezra. I hit the Ezra. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. I have taken 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 damage. Plus the Ray, 14 damage in the opening off of this. Okay? I claim, and he's like, alright, I'm going to discard this card, and I'm just going to reroll the shield side, just see what I get. Because you're not doing damage to me. And, oh look, I get a 1 melee. Ezra's dead. That 5 is what he needs to kill the Rookie Pilot. Rookie Pilot's dead. So, start of round 2, and this is the board state. This is the board state start of round 2. What the fuck? How am I supposed to win this? How the hell was I supposed to... He plays Force Wave, and he gets a run Reaping the Crystal, and he has a Synchronicity, and he has a Close Quarters Assault, and he rerolls into the melee to kill off my other character. What is this? Why? Why? So I draw my cards. I have no vehicles. I have 4 resources available, but I have no vehicles in my hand. And I stand up and say good game, and I scoop. And I'm on tilt like crazy. I cannot make it into the top 16 anymore. So let's review the wins, the losses so far. I've lost to a Yoda Hondo, which had Force Wave Cunning. I lost to a Bro TK that managed to bullshit draw into Aftermath Price of Failure in Rage off of Dark Council after pinging his Night Sister 6 times and rerolling 3. And also a Boundless, of course. Can't forget the Boundless. And then I've lost to this. My deck is good against Raela, but not against this. And this is why I feel you need to be able to lock in. You need to be forced to lock in your deck choice before round 1A even starts. He would not have played Force Wave if it wasn't for knowing that Joe is playing this deck. So I really need to blame Joe for this loss, right? Similarly, people like my opponent at the beginning, my first opponent, didn't want to play Mill. Even though they brought Mill to the event, they didn't play Mill because they saw all the Sabine Ezras. I don't know why people kept playing Yoda Hondo, because Yoda Hondo has a terrible matchup against these things and really was terrible of an option. But that's what happened. So, round 8. At this point, I've lost. At this point, I just want to play a good game of Destiny and have some fun, you know? And that's what I got, actually. This was a really fun game. I set up really powerfully. I ramped really hard. He ramped really hard. Round 1, I've got Fang Fighter, Airspeeder, and C-3PO out. He's got a Maltz out. Round 2, I am closing the vice with my vehicles. Like, I get out the runaway boomers. And I'm using Yoda to shield up my other characters to prevent this Maul's lightsaber getting to be re-rolled. Round blah. Yeah, round 3. His Boba is at 4, and I managed to kill off the 7th sister. I managed to flanking maneuver for 5 onto the Force Illusion. So at that point, all of his cards are in the graveyard. And I managed to kill off the 7th sister at the end of round 3. Fully expected for me to kill at the end of round 3. But in exchange, I have lost the Ezra and the Rookie Pilot. I only have the Yoda with the Chance Cube at this point. Start of round 4, he has no cards left in his deck. He is Boundless, and he has lost a Force Illusion. And he has Force Illusion for 5, so he has no cards left in deck. At this point, I should be checking his graveyard to see what the last cards in his hand are. I don't. Alright. But Yoda is sitting on 1 hit point. And he's claimed. This is terrifying for me. I draw in, and I draw into Cautions and hit a Motive, which isn't great. He rolls in, Boba. He's in a situation where he should be able to beat me at this point, right? He should win. Because I didn't manage to kill him round 3. I killed him round 4. I'm going for this round 4 kill instead. Since I didn't kill round 3, this is a loss for me, effectively, right? Yoda, actually, I think this was the situation with Yoda, actually. Yeah. Yeah, the situation with Yoda. Sorry. No, this was the situation with Yoda. I apologize. Yoda, he needed to roll into damage on... No. It was 9. It was 9. He needed to roll 1 damage. He needed to roll 2 damage on either the 2 melee or the 2 ranged, or the special and wait for me to roll out. I only had 1 shield on Yoda. So, I roll out Yoda. And I'm looking. I've got the damage to kill him, but he also only has 3 cards left in hand, and I'm like, maybe. So I roll in Yoda. I get a blank. I get a disrupt. Sorry, a shield. No, it was a disrupt, sorry. And a double focus side. Okay. He discards. He's actually down to 3 at that point. He discards and goes down to 3 cards, sorry. And rerolls. And he gets nothing. I see 3PO. No, he had 5 cards. Sorry, he had 5 cards. He discards rerolls down to 4. Discards reroll, and now he still has nothing. I roll in the C3PO. C3PO has a focus side here, and now I'm like, okay, what can I do here? He discards to reroll again. He ends up with a blank and a resource. And at this point, I should absolutely be checking his discard zone. Because if I did, I would have noticed he still has a bait and switch in hand. Bait and switch is game here, okay? So, in order to not die, what do I do? What do I do in this situation? Well, I can use C3PO to, for the disrupt side, get a shield, defend, or use it for the Yoda special to get a shield and put this to the 3 to survive. But he could still discard to reroll, and he could potentially still get out the damage. I'm not out of the danger zone yet. Alternatively, I can use C3PO that to get 2 shields, but 2 shields and 1 shield, there's no difference, really, because he's going to be doing damage in multiples of 2. What I choose to do here is I choose to force the issue. I go for a shield here and a 3 resource side here. Because in my head, I'm thinking to myself, he's got 3 cards left in hand. If I can use C3PO with the 3, I can remove his hand, and that is game. Okay? But then he plays bait and switch and kills me. In hindsight, what is the correct situation? What is the correct thing to do here? It wasn't on a shield side. What is the correct thing to do in this situation? It's really hard to say. Hidden Motive is good here if it hits, but he's got 1 in 6s on everything, so it's not even a great choice. It's not a great choice to roll that to roll those odds, right? I have a 2 side standing out there, so he still has a 50% chance to roll damage to kill me, even if I call one of them because of the resource. So if I call range, he still has the melee, the resource, and the special to kill me. So that's not a great choice here. I think that overall the best choice isn't to shield up, because with 3 rerolls left, he has a pretty much guaranteed chance of rolling into 2 damage. That 4 damage. I don't have removal other than the Hidden Motive, though. Well, I guess since I had the Hidden Motive, I can potentially force him to reroll some of the damage, and maybe that would save me. But I think the correct choice here was to use C3PO and use Yoda as 2 discard 2 cards, and I had a 66% chance, I think it is, to hit that bait and switch. I had a 2 in 3 chance to hit that bait and switch. And if I hit that bait and switch, he only has 1 reroll left to discard and reroll, and he needs to hit both of these to hit the damage, which is not too unlikely. He's got 50% per die. It's not too unlikely, but it's pretty likely to fail, just as it did there. But he bait and switches and kills me because I did not check the graveyard. But it was a really good game. I managed to get up a huge flanking. I managed to do a lot of damage. He did a lot of damage to me. I used a lot of shield shenanigans to keep that 7th Sister's walls off from using this power action. He never power actioned once with the 7th Sister, because between disrupting him and shielding up with Yoda, he could never get it off. which was great. Then round 9 comes up. So at this point, I am 4-4. And I just want to play Destiny for fun. Then round 9 comes up. Let me load round 9 for you. Wait a second. Round 9 isn't here. So I'm sitting here. I'm sitting down. This is maybe the last game of Destiny I'm ever going to play in real life. Again, potentially. But I mean, let's be honest. I'm probably going to go to Worlds again next year. And there might be some worthwhile events to go into later on. So I am sitting down and I want to play. And my opponent walks up to me and he's like, I'm playing Mill. I'm like, thank God, a 100% win. I can just crush this guy and just deal with the fact that and just, help my ego here because I'm on a huge losing streak. I lost the last 2 games. But then he says, I'm going to drop and give you the win. And then Leighton, who sat right next to me, is like, he's like, I'm so jealous because he has also lost both games. And he wants to make sure he doesn't scrub out and lose all 3 and ends up going 4-5. Because going 4-2 to 4-5 feels terrible. But instead, the guy drops out and I go 5-4. And honestly, to me, that's worse because I just wanted to have a game of Destiny. Right? I didn't want to. It wasn't about winning or losing at that point. I just wanted to play for fun. The stress of the tournament was over because let's be honest, I was stressed throughout that tournament. I was on tilt. I'll be honest, I don't think I enjoyed the happy hour and stuff quite as much as I should because I didn't drink or anything because I wanted to stay in top performance for the tournament that was featuring the next day. So I grinded a ton of pods. I did all that stuff because I just wanted to be in peak condition. And the enjoyment kind of fell on the wayside. But I'll be honest, I wouldn't do anything differently. I had a ton of fun playing in this tournament, but honestly, the pods were harder. Like the matches that I won felt like they were auto wins for the most part. Like round 2 against that Yoda Hondo where I rolled into 10 damage, that wasn't an auto win, but round 1 was an auto win. Round 3 was an auto win. He couldn't resolve damage. Round 6, that wasn't an auto win either against that Boba 7th, but he still died. He put his Force Illusion on the character who wasn't built up and lost, and I had a pretty decent chance of winning. But my auto losses felt like auto losses. Like I lost to the Hondo Yoda who had a Force Wave. I lost to the Bro TK who just managed to do Dark Council bullshit. And then that Rey Ayla was absolutely ludicrous. That is, I think, the worst luck anyone has ever had in the tournament that day. I'm going to go on record saying that. If you have a harder story, please, or worse story on that World's Day, please let me know in the comments. Leighton's certainly wasn't. Even though it was pretty bad, Leighton's wasn't even worse than me. And then that Boba 7th was a good game of Destiny, but I felt like in the pods I was having good games of Destiny that I wasn't really having in the tournaments, which is a shame. The pods felt more competitive to me. It was kind of weird. The games that I lost were super hard for me to win, and the games that I won were pretty easy for me to win overall. I'm again not disappointed with this deck. I feel like it is the best deck in the meta. It loses really hard to Boba, oh god, what's his name? I want to say Bilbo Baggins, but that's definitely not his name. That's Lord of the Rings. Balatik, there we go. This deck loses hard to Balatik, and it loses pretty convincingly to Poe 1 as well. But no one plays Poe 1 anymore, Balatik is this deck's main. Has some trouble against Phasma decks as well. Phasma 1 specifically has trouble against Guardians. But this deck is very good against the field, very good against the 7th Sister Boba Fett, very good against okay against them, very good against the Rey Aylas, and incredibly good against the Sabine Ezras. Like, those top 16 players, I could have beaten any of their decks, pretty much. Like, there was nothing stopping me from beating those decks. Like, this deck is also good against base vehicles, like standard, the standard Rose, Ayla, Ezra vehicles. Like, this is good against that. I have no problem against that at all. And I could have taken anyone in the top 16. It's so dumb that the person who won was a Kylo 2 player who never went up against a Rainbow deck. Like, this deck just stomps on Kylo so hard. Like this tournament did feel very much like it's all about which matchup you end up getting faced against. The more games that I played, the more this would have resulted in my favor. I ended up 5-4 when I should be 6-3 at a base minimum, right? I have 66% win rates overall. Overall, that field I had 6% win rates. It felt like I ended up 5-4. But it really did feel like who you queue into determines a lot of the game. But I mean, I guess that's just tournaments in general, right? But the more games that would have been played, the better we would have done. Like, arguably, we should maybe have a day 3. Like, put day 1A, do a day 1A and a day 1B only. Have like 150 people instead of the 100 people per day. And then have another like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 rounds of Swiss for a day 2. And then day 3 is the cut to top 16. You can definitely do that. It's a lot of Destiny, sure, but like they're no longer playing X-Wing. Then X-Wing is now having its separate days instead of running concurrent with Star Wars Destiny. And Star Wars Destiny has the numbers to do something like that, right? I would like to see that. I really would like to see it split into 2 days instead, and it would help deal with the whole lock-in shenanigans. People locking in late so that they have so that they can play stuff like that. Force Wave is just the tech card. That just feels bad to me. It really does. It really does. So that was my Worlds tournament. A lot of salt, a lot of tilt, a lot of range. It's been me, Gibbs99, aka No Brainer. Thank you for watching. Signing out.